Testing, testing, one, two. I promise you guys, I'm gonna get a lapel mic thingy, so I don't have this big mic in front of me. But hello and welcome to Shopee Thrive. I'm Chef Rich. Welcome back to my channel. And tonight, whenever you're looking at this, I will be discussing. Oh, I'm leaking. I will be discussing love in the islands, falling in love in the Caribbean, relationships, dating, the reality of it in the Caribbean for us. If you hear a lot of background noise, hopefully it's not coming through. Yeah, someone's out there blending something or something, but yeah. So yes, again, as I said, I'm Chef Rich, and welcome to my channel. And yeah, I'm from an island, St. Kitts to be exact, in the beautiful Caribbean. And on this channel, I discuss health and wellness and lifestyle, and as it pertains to island life. So if you want to learn more about what we do on the islands, besides, when you come and you stay in the hotels and so forth, or if you just want to, you know, interact with a fellow human being. All of us are still earthlings, regardless of where on earth we're from. We still have the same concerns: love, family, finance, work. We still do the same thing. So I'm a Caribbean chick. You might be from a bigger metropolitan area, but we're still humans. We're still earthlings, and we have a lot in common. So yeah, as I said, I wanted to talk about love in the islands and falling in love with the islands, just because I feel like there's so many romantic movies out there that like portray the islands as the ideal place to fall in love. And like you go on vacation and you meet your and it's so magical and it's like paradise. But what about the locals? Like how do we um deal with love and relationships and marriage and all that stuff down here? I would say it's different. Let's start with dating. No, I grew up watching a lot of sitcoms. You have your Teen Wolf, you have your old fashioned Saved by the Bell, you have Seventh Heaven was one I really loved. Those WB shows were like, yeah. But you had a lot of teen dating and you had a lot of girls falling in love, well, boys and girls falling in love and having all their love triangles and all that stuff. Now, let me tell you, in the Caribbean, ain't no such thing as dating, at least not in the way that like other people in the world, rest of the world, think of dating, especially in the US. Like, no, 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 especially in high school. You're mad. You can't be both. You're going out on a date with no boy in high school. Your only job in high school is to pass your subjects, to pass your CXC, to learn your lesson, not to look man. And you notice it's always more reflective on the girl. Of course, boys are encouraged, to learn the lesson, as we said too. But like with a lot of cultures, the focus is on the female, and she gets the point of the punishment of anything negative that would be tagged on a couple. She's the one who gonna get it. The boy gonna probably be looked at as being, well, he a young stud, but the girl is like, oh, she looking man already. She not even done with school yet. And I mean, it can get really brutal. Like, depends on the parent, depends on the age, depends on how conservative they are, but generally the populace is not big on dating, especially as I said in high school. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but you can't be very expressive even at that age about feelings and all of that. We do have family life in school now, so it's not like before when people were not aware of sex and all of that stuff. But as far as the emotional side and all that lovey-dovey stuff, time for that when you're done with school, when you don't get your subjects. Your parents are paying, they're making sure you're alive, they're housing you, they're feeding you. They're not paying for your love life as well. And the main focus, the main fear that drives that way of thinking is, you don't want your daughter to get pregnant. You don't want your son to breed any girl, as we call it. We don't hear no, it sound like animal, but hey. So, I mean, parents oftentimes, the average person, they already they're not rich. And when you think of your child having a child in high school, that's your responsibility too. I mean, it's gotten better over the years, because I remember back in the day, like way back, like girls would get thrown out of the house if they get pregnant, like literally abandoned. And a lot of the times they used to even get thrown out of school. Actually, it's maybe about 20 years or so, or less, since girls have not really been encouraged or forced to leave school anymore. Some of them still do, because it's like a lot of shame still attached to getting pregnant in school and so forth. So that's like the ultimate thing. That's like the one nightmare that all families have, that the daughter gonna read in school. But yeah, so I mean, that dating thing while you're underage, that is not a thing. That can get you beat up, that can get you thrown out, that can get you all levels of punishment. And as I said, a lot of that thinking is gradually changing, but it's still very much present. I mean, people will now accept crushes. They will accept, like, oh, that's your little boyfriend, and like, but you're not gonna go on a date with him. You're not gonna be spending no time. If you get a phone call, you're lucky. You're gonna be, oh, that's a little boy you like. Hypothetically, that's a little boy you like in your head, but you ain't gonna do nothing about it. So yeah, I mean, it's just not a thing, you know. Um, Unfortunately, again, I think because people are not allowed to really express themselves in any situation where people are not allowed to be truthful to themselves and to express their feelings, people are going to hide. And whenever you have people having to hide, then you're going to have people sneaking and making, decisions that are not the best, because they're rushing, they're cooping, it's not cooping, they're sneaking, and they're really just trying to grab some alone time in the absence of their parents. So you have persons skipping school. A lot of time, a lot of girls will skip school to go look for their boyfriend, because I mean, when school is over, you're home. So it really is not a situation that we have a lot of progress on as yet. We're not that liberal, you know. So I mean, so the dating thing for underage, especially girls, is not a thing, right? Um, Unfortunately, as well, I'll have to be honest. A lot of the girls who do have boyfriends, unbeknownst to the parents especially, they tend to not even have boyfriends that are in school. I would say we have a problem, at least in St. Kitts, where you have a lot of pedophile older men who like to, what we call it, rear up these young girls, and especially the bus man there. No, bus man, we have public transportation in the islands, and they're normally these passenger buses. They're very colorful. If you've ever seen the buses in Africa, in Nigeria, where they have them decked out and colorful, ours are similar, and they're owned by private bus drivers, private persons who hire bus drivers, and these are basically the blood of the country. They transport everybody back and forth, and majority of the population still catch bus, as we say, and a lot of kids catch bus to go to school, because we do have school buses, but for like high school and for certain areas, you still have a lot of school children catching buses, depending on where they live. And that's unfortunately when the predatorial side of these bus drivers comes in. So I mean, that was a thing. All of us in school, when you hear your classmate, oh, she got a bus man, and it's strange looking back at it, because it's said as like it's not a big deal, in that you kind of expect it. When I say not a big deal, it's a big deal to the parents and stuff, but like in the eyes of society, it's like, oh, he wouldn't stop trouble little girls, but really it's hardly ever that they are dealt with in a serious way. And a lot of the times it's the same guys perpetrating the same things. There was this one guy, I swear, he got about 20 children, and all the mothers were underage. But unfortunately, what happens is he targets a lot of less fortunate, like more impoverished families, girls from those type of homes. And then, what ends up happening a lot is that these girls, the parents end up not pushing the case because, they either get some money or they're too ashamed or, stuff like that. So, yeah, so dating in high school, not a thing for us. Dating as an adult, dear God, even that is not a thing. Fellas, it's a little bit easier for them, although two sides. Uh, Fellas, you can be out and about with different girls. People can just look at you as a wafer, as they say. As a woman, where's this cat here? Like every time I'm up here, like these animals getting all frisky. Last time was a lizard. Now is this cat playing and dodging this. Anyways, so women now is like, yeah, you go out and you talk about you dating down here and you're seeing several guys and you're dating more than one guy at a time, they don't care. As far as they're concerned, that's your man. You out someplace with him, you in the car with him, y'all eating someplace, that's your man. Sure. And I mean, I just got offered some papaya, so you're gonna see me eat some papaya because I'm gonna eat my papaya on this camera, on this video. Yeah. So yeah, like he paying for you, y'all out together. That's your man. You leave with him, that's your man. So I mean there is little space for you to get to know people in public. And that in itself can be a real problem because people tend to, because they're afraid of having that tarnished reputation of having a lot of man, because people see you out with different guys, that they have to do it in private. So, they kind of sneak again. So you try to get to know, a lot of courting is done over the phone, right? A lot of courting is done in private and in sneaking. And unfortunately, if the guy gonna sneak and pick you up at this hour, oh, thank you. Here is my papaya. We have a ton of papayas in this garden. Look at that. Mm, it is so juicy. Sorry, but I have to eat some. Mm, that is super sweet. Wow. Anyways, so what ends up happening is that a lot of people do not get the opportunity to go out with somebody, see how they operate in public, um, see if anybody claim them in public, you know what I mean? Because when you go out with a guy, especially in public places, then you know if he's seeing somebody else, you know if he has a bad reputation, you know if he got a lot of women. So it kind of is. It works out great for the guys because a lot of the women, they're afraid to go out too much. Sometimes they will go out in groups of friends so that you can't really pinpoint well who checking who dating who. But then again, that doesn't allow for people to have that real time to interact and to see the person in the environment and so forth. And it really kind of hinders the development of the relationship. At least I feel it does. So people often again have to be courting in private, and then it's when you decide that, hey, I am actually going to deal with this guy, this is my man now, that's when you start going out in public. And that's when you start seeing, now when you're done out in public with him, that's when you start seeing if there's confusion, if he has a woman. That's when people start flooding, and unfortunately it takes a real serious toll on the relationship as well. So as far as being able to go out with multiple persons and really, feeling out the type of guy you like, doing different things, trying out different things and seeing what works for you, what type of person you're attracted to, it's difficult. A lot of that has to be done on the down low. And then I feel like a lot of men get kind of spoiled into feeling that they don't have to really go out with the woman. Because well, think about it, when we were dating on the low, we used to just chat on the phone. I used to do a sneaky link or come with you and we go where nobody gonna see us, nobody go call we name. And then now we're together, you expect us to be going out, and I mean it's not gonna change. Like that's what the relationship, that's the foundation on which the relationship was built, so that's how it's gonna stay. And then the women are all upset now, and it works for the men because then they can be dating multiple girls at the same time, in relationship with multiple women, and you wouldn't know. You really wouldn't know until it's too late. No, there's another flip side for the men. There are some men who don't mind going out with women, and there are some decent men. But what happens is, if they like to treat women, they kick them out and stuff. Sometimes other men get on them a lot for being a girl's, what they call it, the girl them sugar daddy, being a girl type. Cause they feel like, oh, you always out with some girl, you like spend money, you just showing off like that kind of way. That could be an issue for men sometimes. And I find too, like I don't know if it's the same in other places, but these island men sometimes they don't want to claim you in public until like they show that your reputation is like spotless. In fact, they would date a foreign woman quicker than somebody from their local area because they feel like, well, nobody know nothing about her. Nobody knows anything about her because she's from foreign. They don't know her. She could have had 155 men. She could have been working in a whole house. Nobody know. And they're fine with that. But say, they with Sheila from across the road, who everybody know maybe had two different baby daddies. They kind of looking at her, and they're funny that way. They're quite comfortable with dating foreign women just for that. Because I guess they feel like no man could tell them nothing. No man could say, well, I had your woman because she's from foreign. So dating done, it's complicated. Let's say that. Dating is complicated. Okay, so my other note says guys are expected to cheat. And many persons, well, not just guys, but our attitude for a place that is portrayed around the world as a place to encourage you to fall in love, our attitude towards love is very tainted. uh from my experience, a lot of people do not really, they're not enticed by this idea of love and falling in love on that level, maybe when they're younger. But I mean, it's expected that everybody cheats. At least that's my experience. So if you start dating somebody or you're out now, everybody knows that you're together. There's a lot of back chat, a lot of carry come about, the guy can't go down the road and say hi to another girl if somebody don't ring any woman. But I imagine this happens everywhere. But what makes it unique, what makes Kittitions unique, is a little thing we call cooping. And if you've never heard of the term cooping, well, let me let you know what that is now. So, cooping is the fine art of sneaking up and um, minding people business to coop. For instance, I've grown up hearing epic cooping stories about, persons like to go, lovers like to go and park in strange places, especially when they're cheating in dark places. Well, there are a set of guys, mostly, almost always guys, who specialize in scoping out parked cars and in really catching cheaters in the act. So they will crawl on their belly, climb trees, lie on the vehicles, hide in the dark, do anything just to coop somebody. So they could say, hey, he was over there with Gina last night up Brimstone Hill. Or to say, oh, he why didn't she? Or he, she, that she man, she man blows. All of that. Like it's very different here. So cooping is a thing. Cooping is a big thing. It's a sport for some men. There was this story about this guy and I like coop so much, right? He was like a specialist at cooping, so a group of his friends his mother and her lover now park someplace. So they said him, let's go, we cooping. Gone and end up cooping his own mom, you know. Imagine the shock on his face. End up cooping his own mother in there with a guy in the car. Can you imagine? So yeah, we are very exciting in these parts. What's this now? I'm getting so much food. Look at this. This come like you're gonna turn into a mukbang, you know. This is gluten. That's a gluten-free, dairy-free, fully vegan. Well, no, it has some pepperoni. Forgive me. It's dairy-free and gluten-free pizza. Mm. I'm still having my papaya. The marriage, no. No, I know a lot of other cultures, people get married really young. Not a thing in the islands, at least not in St. Kitts again. You have a lot of persons. I mean, it's getting better now, but you have a lot of persons getting married like in their 40s, a lot even in the 50s. You have in the 30s. I mean, you have the Christian set, of course, getting married younger, but even them, a lot of them that I know end up being single for a while because they can't find anybody, anointed enough. But a lot of persons get married in their later years. Like it's very rare that you see people getting married in their 20s, even though they might be in a committed relationship, even if they might have had several kids already, because they're getting kids, getting them young still. But marriage is something that it's not really a part of our culture. In practice, in theory, it is the ideal. It is something that people aspire to, at least like I said, in theory. But in reality, most people are not married. Like my parents weren't married. I could probably count on one hand how much friends I had whose parents were married. It's very rare, and then whose parents are even together, right? My father and mother broke up when I was like maybe 3. I didn't know him most of my childhood because he left and he went to the States and, never looked back. Uh huh. But I mean, it's a whole lot of issues. You could come from slavery, come up, you could look at the economics, you could look at a whole bunch of stuff. But marriage is something that normally happens later on for people. Although I will say that some persons know, here and there, like younger persons are beginning to really commit younger. I was married in my late 20s, so I mean, I was a little different, right? But and you're seeing more and more people, not a lot, but you know, m- way more than before. Like when I was younger, most people were married, and I always find that it was kind of unfair to women because the thing set up, as we said, the thing set up so that men can have multiple women and string women along, because some women will literally put up with all that mess just because they feel like, okay, he must marry to me eventually, and I remember a friend of mine telling me that her grandfather actually proposed to her grandmother on his deathbed, and this is like after they already had grandchildren when he was dying, and she tell him, keep it, we must marry to you when you're dead. But that's the mentality. Like a lot of men will not marry. And there's even this saying that a lot of them have this saying like, nobody married to my mother, so me ain't gonna marry to nobody. So, and that's a whole other topic. I always got these whole other topics of, a lot. True, you have a lot of single mothers. The sons end up becoming their husbands, not in practice, but in a kind of theory, like they feel obligated to her. The family structure is always more focused on from their mother's side, not them building out their own nuclear family, but them taking care of their mother, and that's the priority, because their father would have failed in that way, somebody would have failed in that way, and so they feel obligated to really be their mother's champion and to look after her. And a lot of them will have other women, they'll even have kids by other women, and they will live with their mothers until they go, or until their mothers, whoever die, all them live in the same house. Oh my God, this is making the Caribbean sound so bad. I mean, I don't think it's bad, it's just different cultures, and you have to understand that people have different histories and different traumas and different circumstances in life. So what would work for someone in the US may not necessarily work for someone in the Caribbean, economic reasons and so forth. It's a lot to consider. So yeah, so a lot of the times you don't really see a lot of people getting married young. um I find too, like sometimes women are like dealt this card of like, you like shame, this shame card for wanting to get married. you know a woman dating a guy, and is like, there's this accusation, like sometimes the mothers especially would toss it at her, that would be the guy's mother. I married she look, I married Sherlock, and I'm like, so what? Like, you're in a relationship with somebody. I could never understand this. You're in a relationship with somebody, you have kids with them, you invest in all this time, money, energy, and a lot of the time they even would like own property together and stuff, but you throwing it at her. I married you. Look, my son now married to you. It's crazy, y'all. We sound like hills of ice people, but we're really not. The Caribbean is home to some of the most intelligent, cultured, creative, loving, um dynamic people, okay? But part of what makes us dynamic is, it's the quirks that we have, it's the traumas that we have, and seeing them play out in life, and that's what makes life interesting, y'all. We are all dynamic and complicated people, and we're no different in the Caribbean. We all do not just walk around saying, yeah, man, and smiling all day. We have complicated lives, and we have dynamic relationships. So yeah, so those are some of the things. But on the flip side, no, I will say that relationships in the Caribbean tend to be a lot of. I mean, they do have some of that gender bias, those gender roles, but in a lot of the cases, it's not too strict. Like in other cultures, like the men down here can throw it down in the kitchen, like they cook. Most mothers, again, you might come from here is coming from, I'm going to teach you to do things so that no woman could wash off herself, and woman could take advantage of you. So you're going to learn to cook, clean, and iron, and do everything. Some men even know to comb here and style here. So you have the men, they cook like, most of the men I know cook. Even me and my husband, we don't have like a set rule, like to say, well, I have to cook or whatever. Is like whoever in the mood cook, whoever has the time cook. The men clean, they do whatever. I will say though that men's men tend to cook a little bit more. Well, men are men, right? The men that who cook those, a lot of those goat water and the whole foot, and in my experience, the heavy, manly type meat dishes and stuff. That's just what they like. But as far as like household duties and stuff, me, you have some lazy man, eh? Me ain't gonna tell no lie, who feel like maybe they grow up in a home where they see their mother doing all of that for their father, they see her doing it for different males. So you do have some of that. But for the most part, men cook and they clean, and a lot of younger men now also, uh to me, doing more as far as with the kids. It was not that way, as I said, even when I was a child. But now you have a lot of younger fathers who are very involved with their kids, who just really, as they say, I love my youth. I want. They actually, you have a lot of young fathers now going out deliberately trying to get a youth. Like before, the men would be running from having children. Now these guys are like, I want a youth. I need a youth. I want to see my youth. So certain things are changing, but I also noticed that, and this may, of course, probably not special to the islands, but a lot of marriages don't last. Like even though they get married late sometimes, by the time they're in their 50s, 60s, not 50s, 60s, 70s, like you hardly, it's kind of rare sometimes for me, at least in my experience, to see a lot of older people who are still together. You'll see some, but a lot of them are already separated, or you'll hear, oh, that he wife, and divorced. The next thing, people don't really seem to want to get divorced much. They just got their separate ways. I don't know if because it's like expensive, or it used to take a lot longer. It used to take like I think 7 years, and I had to prove it and shit. But now you could just get a divorce. The other person don't even have to give you the divorce once you adamant enough and you say I don't want this person no more. You can get a divorce, but a lot of people just don't go through the hassle. They just like you move out. He looky man, he looky woman. Sorry, a lot of that is happening to what he looky woman, she looks she man, and they live separate lives, right? So yeah, so multiple baby mamas. I think that's something in the whole black community, and I wouldn't even just say black community, but that's something I personally feel that is a remnant of slavery. Like I think, with a lot of things that we have to basically deal with, a lot of things, as I said, economically, socially, traumas. Like you have to remember up on a point that slaves weren't even allowed to be married. So culturally it's shifting, and sometimes I feel like that's why in the Caribbean we're interesting mix, because you'll see us like have carnival and our music is very sexual, and we're walking up on one another and we're gyrating, and you would think that we're super liberal and super sexual. But even though, like, slaves, I guess, were not allowed to be married in a lot of instances, marriage was still something that was seen as the ideal. So I personally have found that we do have some psychological scars with that, in that even though a lot of people don't want to get married, they're still ashamed that they're not married. And it's like a psychological scar that's on the line, and it really is affecting a lot of you know interpersonal relationships, marriages, like a lot of stuff, relationships in general. So yeah, I mean, it's not all sun, sand, and paradise and wedding bells, ding dong. We have a whole complicated thing going on down here as far as love in the Caribbean. But people do fall in love. Uh, it's just expressed in different ways, you know? It's expressed in different ways. You may not go out on a date every night until you're sure that you want to be seen with this person and that this person is serious. But those phone conversations with the bomb, I mean, you end up paying a lot. Once ago, you used to pay a lot of phone bill. Now you have WhatsApp, so it's much easier. But yeah, it's different. We are people, and we still go through the different motions. Look at that cat. Look at, oh, it's a kitten. Oh, that's why you're running up and down and going through. Ah, and if you're looking for the lizard from last week. But yeah, so I just wanted to pop on and have a little chat. I was looking at these shows and everybody coming to the Caribbean to fall in love, and but how, like, what's love like for people who live in the Caribbean? Those are some of the things that we deal with. And as I said, it might sound bad, but it's our reality. Um, there is love. There is a lot of expressions of love, just in different ways. And like most persons of Afro descent, most persons who are descendants of the people who were enslaved, of course, we have psychological issues and traumas that need to be healed. And all of this will take some time. But ultimately, we are a loving people, and we just we just got vibes. We just different, But luckily for me, I found a wonderful husband and my best friend, and we break so many malls. Like we get people are literally shocked because we're always together. That's the next thing is like when you're together a lot as a couple, people start like, how come y'all always together? Like, we're a couple, we're best friends, we like spending time together, we're business partners. And that seems such a shocker to them that a man would want to go out with his girlfriend or his wife all the time, you know, just to show you. So, I mean, we looked at like a lot of women will go like relationship goals, a lot of the men go like, and then of course we get the people who go like, Charles, I got him, eh? What he doing? Stop got it because they like man ain't no ton to shoot me shot. Man ain't no chance to shoot me shot. He always with her. I can't trouble her. She always with him. I can, flirt with him. And yeah, relationships can get a lot of stress if you're not of a certain, if you don't think a certain way. So I mean, it can be stressful, especially as I said, when it's not, at least in my area, it's not the norm to see couples going for the miles, going long in healthy and, functional relationships. But again, that's something that's probably happening all over the world. Just that down here, people are more vocal. So, yes. So, thank you for tuning in to this video. I hope you learned something. I hope you just enjoyed yourself. Let me know if you're from different countries and cultures. Let me know what love is like in your country or your culture, how it's expressed, how it's dating. I want to know. Drop me a few lines and in the comments, and if you're from different islands, tell me if what I said resonated with you, if it makes sense, if it's the truth, or if it's completely different in your island. I think we have more in common than we do um than differences that we have. But I'm curious, like, let me know what's going on. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Chef Rich, and until next time, bye bye.